So, how are you? How's the day going? Going well? I hope it's going well. It's fine if it's not, but I hope it's going well. Not every day goes well, but I hope yours is. We're going to do a bit of meditation. This isn't a class, it's just a chance to meditate together. It's part of the further emergence work I do. If you're curious about further emergence, I'll explain all about it when we're finished the meditation. But for now, if you're an experienced meditator, if you're used to meditation, you've got a nice little meditation practice going, that's great. Can you hang on though for a minute while I explain what I do, just for the benefit of people who are new to meditation? There's lots of different styles of meditation. This is just what I do. For me, it starts with why I would meditate. I'm trying to connect to a part of me that I connect to every night when I go asleep. Not the dreaming bit, the bit after dreaming. So I'm dreaming and then I drop out the bottom of dreaming into deep dreamless sleep, where I have no thoughts, no memories, no emotions, no feelings, no personality, no body really, no bed, no bedroom, no nothing. I don't even have me. I sort of cease to exist, so certainly in the way that I normally register my existence. Oh, that sounds awful, doesn't it? Yet, I love going to sleep. And when I wake up in the morning, I feel refreshed. So some part of me knows that wherever I go to, it's a good place. And that's where I want to go to when I meditate. I just want to do it consciously. So if you're new to meditation, I strongly discourage you from lying down. Because if you lie down, the chances are you'll fall asleep. And if you don't fall asleep, you'll battle sleep. Both of which are very distracting to meditation. So yeah, sit up. You don't have to sit in a lotus position or anything like that unless you're comfortable sitting like that. I'm just sitting in a chair. If you're going to sit in a chair, make sure it's not a big comfy armchair that you might fall asleep in, or you're into that side of things again. As I said, I've got no thoughts in this place. It's a funny place. It's like my mind can't seem to get there. It's like it has to wait outside the door. So I have to figure out some way of working with my mind so that I can get to this place. I can kind of part the curtains in my mind to get there. So what I do is I make an arrangement with my mind where I say, can you just not think for the next 15 minutes because I want to meditate? And at this stage my mind is on board for the whole meditation thing. If you're new to meditation, your mind will probably be on board for it as well because it's a new thing and minds like new things. The only time your mind mightn't be on board is if you're trying to meditate regularly. So if you're doing that and you're having a problem with it, if you want to ask me a question about that, I can talk about it afterwards. But for now, my mind is on board. Good. Next thing, stop thinking. That's actually not as hard as it sounds. It's not that hard to stop, because regardless of what I'm thinking about, which would be the content of my thoughts, the structure of my thoughts is always the same. It's always pictures and sound. So if I turn off the pictures and I turn off the sound, that's it. I'm not thinking. As soon as I do that, I'm into the practice of meditation. Now, the practice of meditation runs parallel to the intention of my meditation. Now, the intention of my meditation is, as I said, to go to this place, this deep, mysterious, profound, possibly eternal, Zen-like, calm, all those words that are used to describe meditation, that place. And then the practice of meditation starts as soon as I stop thinking. So it pretty much goes, I turn off the pictures, I turn off the sound, I bring myself to not thinking. Then some time passes and I discover that I'm thinking again. I go, oh, I'm thinking, right, fine, turn off the pictures, turn off the sound, bring myself back to not thinking. Then some more time passes and I discover that I'm thinking again. I go, oh, thinking again, fine, turn off the pictures, turn off the sound, bring myself back to not thinking. Then some more time passes and I discover I'm thinking again, and so on. It's pretty simple. Every time you discover that you're thinking, you bring yourself back to not thinking by turning off the pictures, turning off the sound. And it's important to know that, because it's easy to get the misconception that to meditate correctly, I can't think at all, which isn't the case. It's these two things, the intention and the practice, they go together. They do a sort of a dance. Sometimes you'll be very still and deep, and then other times you'll be discovering that you're thinking. And it's important to know that they're both powerful in their own way. One is not better than the other. It's kind of obviously powerful when you are deep and still and in that meditative kind of place. You can feel changes going on in your nervous system. It just feels it. You can feel the power. It's not so obvious. The power is not so obvious when you're discovering that you're thinking, but it is as powerful. It's as powerful. Because what happens is, if you're like me, the sort of things that you think about, they're all to do with you. So I'll be thinking, what am I going to do about that thing? Why did that person say that to me? Why did I say that to that person? And so on. Now, if I'm in the middle of meditation and I'm in the middle of one of those thoughts and then I realize I'm thinking and I go, oh, thinking, turn off the pictures, turn off the sound, bring myself back to not thinking, indirectly what I'm saying to myself or what I'm demonstrating to myself is, you know that thought that you just had, the one that you thought was you and that you were it, well, you just made it disappear. You just made it, poof, go away. So you're obviously not that thought. In fact, you're not any of your thoughts. You're something else. That's pretty powerful. And then the fact that you do that repeatedly, that's very powerful as well. So don't add to your thinking by thinking that you're thinking too much or thinking that you're not very good at meditation or thinking that you're bringing yourself back from thinking too often. None of that is real. That's just another thought to be turned off. So also, the amount of times that you bring yourself back from thinking varies from day to day and hour to hour. You could meditate in the morning and have to bring yourself back, loads of times. And then you can meditate in the afternoon and you would only have to bring yourself back from thinking a couple of times. One isn't better than the other. It doesn't work like that. The golden rule is, and if you do this, you're doing it right. Every time you discover that you're thinking, bring yourself back to not thinking by turning off the pictures, turning off the sound. Bring yourself back to not thinking. If you do that, you're doing great. Now, while all that's going on, I'm also letting go of tension in my body, or becoming a bit more conscious of my body. It's better, another way of putting it. So to do that, I scan my body from my head down to my feet, back up again, very slowly, very gently, and anywhere I find tension, I breathe it away. I let it go with my out breath. And that's a good way of remembering to breathe, because it's easy to forget to breathe or to hold your breath in meditation. And it's kind of natural to just let it go like that as well. The other thing I'm doing when I'm scanning my body is I'm just spending a little bit more time on any structures that go across my body. Mostly my body runs longitudinally, from my head to my feet. Anywhere that goes across acts a little bit like a log going across a stream. So, it picks up all the twigs and the branches and the leaves and anything else that comes down the stream, except in my body, that's tension. So I'm spending a little bit more time on my eyes, my jaw, my tongue, the base of my neck, my shoulder girdle, all my joints on my shoulders, elbows, wrists, fingers, my heart area, my respiratory diaphragm, all my intestines, my pelvic floor, my hips, my knees, my ankles, and my toes. Having a nice quiet room is really helpful when you're starting out in meditation, because one of the things that triggers thoughts is noise. And as soon as you close your eyes to meditate, your hearing amplifies. So having a nice quiet room is very helpful. Then the other thing I do to help my mind have less things to think about is I set a timer for how long I'm going to meditate for. So I'm going to set mine for 15 minutes, but I'd encourage you to set yours for shorter if you're new to meditation. Set it for like 5 minutes and then repeat that 3 times, because 15 minutes is a long time if you're not used to it. Okay, so let me get my timer going. Okay, off we go then into the mystery. Alright, if you feel like you've gone very deeply inside, take a minute to come back from there before you open your eyes. Or if you feel like you can hold the inner space and the outer space at the same time, then just open your eyes. And if when you do that you feel like you've lost contact with the inner space, you can just close your eyes again, reconnect. Oh yeah, there it is. Open them up again. Oh no, I've lost it again. Close them again. You can use your eyes like a valve to balance the inner space and the outer space. So as I said at the beginning, these meditations are part of the further emergence work I do. Further emergence is to do with growth, inner growth, growth in consciousness. You could call it spiritual growth, growth in awareness, that kind of growth. Because your body stops growing when you become an adult, but you keep growing on the inside. That doesn't stop for your whole life. I mean, you only have to look back 5-10 years to think about who you were to see that you grew. Then just like when you were a child, you might have gone through periods of accelerated growth. They're called what are called growth spurts. You go through those on the inside too, and they keep going for your whole life as well. The big difference is, though, that when you were a child and you were going through a growth spurt, and you might have had growth pains, and you went to your parents and said, I've got pains in my legs or my shins or wherever you were getting the growth pains, it's not like your parents rushed you to hospital or even to the doctor. They would have just said, no, that's just natural. It's difficult, but they're just growing pains. They'll pass. When you're an adult and you're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, whatever, and you're going through an internal growth spurt, an inner growth spurt, there's a much bigger space to feel like there's something wrong. It's not natural and you're broken in some way. So that's what further emergence focuses on, is on those inner growth spurts to sort of help navigate them, because they can be difficult, because it's like, I can remember when I was a kid, and you're playing with kids on the street, and you could tell, like, if a kid went through a growth spurt, because there'd be this gap between their ankles and the top of their trousers, because they'd just have grown, and they might have got a new pair of pants or a new shirt or whatever, a new cardigan. So their clothes are a little bit tight on them. And it can be the same when you go through an inner growth spurt. Suddenly your life just feels like it doesn't fit anymore. Like, I've been through this myself many times, and I've helped loads of people through it as well over the years. And that's a common kind of feeling of like, no, my life just doesn't fit me anymore, or I don't fit my life, or I feel out of place in my life. Nobody really gets me anymore. I don't really get anybody anymore. I feel quite lonely. It can be really hard. You can have physical symptoms. It could be all sorts of difficult things. And it's sort of can show up in different ways for different people. It's very personal as well. So these meditations help because the more familiar you are with your inner space, the easier it is to navigate inner growth spurts. There's also a Zoom group, Further Emergence Zoom group, that we meet every Friday at 8 o'clock Irish time. You're very welcome to come. And they are a combination of a bit more meditation, a bit more in-depth, questions and answers. And also you get to see, I'm not the only person going through this. There's a kind of it helps with that feeling of loneliness and isolation. I work with people one-to-one as well, and not a huge amount of people. I can only do like 2 days doing that. Today is one of the days, so I spent the day working with people. And that's a combination of talking and more specific feedback, because as I said, it's very specific what goes on for each person. So the one-to-one's a way of helping to get more specific feedback for whatever's gone on for the particular person. And then there's a part of that where I work on their system energetically to sort of help their system become more balanced and more harmonious with the process. And then just going back to the Zoom groups, the video, if you're curious about the Zoom groups, there's video on whatever platform you're looking at this on. There'll be, if you look back through the feed, there's videos of the Zoom groups, so you get an idea of what they're like. And then the audio from the Zoom group goes to make up the Further Emergence podcast, so you can listen if you're more of a podcast person. I've written books as well about Further Emergence. I've written 4 books, so they're all there as well. So, if you're still with me, if you've listened all the way through, Maybe something is resonating with you, saying, there's something to this. In which case, I'd encourage you to just let that voice, that part of you that's made you watch all this way, it will know what to do. Whether you that's just go keep doing the meditations, to come to a Zoom group. You'll find the link for the Zoom group on the website, furtheremergence.com. Come to a Zoom group, or just maybe watch a video, or listen to the podcast, or read one of the books, or get in touch for some one-to-one work. That part of you that made you sort of look all this to the end, to stay to the end, that will